Hey there, my name's John. I'm a 35-year-old married man to a beautiful soul named Kylie. But unfortunately, I can't really say the same for her mother, Alice. Alice is the type of mother in law who's always in your business. She doesn't allow room for debate and discussion. It's her way or the highway. And that's how she's always liked it. So when she met someone like me who can see right through people like that and call them out on it, it's needless to say that she and I didn't really get along as we should have as mother-in-law and sister-in-law. She was always poking and prodding into Kylie and my business as a married couple. And it always got on my nerves, that is, until one day when all of this finally came to a stop and she was sufficiently embarrassed and stopped being such a nosy family member. I always knew that my mother-in-law, Alice, had a problem with our marriage. She made it very clear that that was what she believed in. She meddled in our affairs and constantly gave unsolicited advice. She even went as far as to micromanage our finances. This one time she told us that if we had any problems with each other, Kylie and I, we shouldn't tell the other person. Rather, we should deal with it on our own and let fate decide what happens. Kylie would be complacent to keep the peace. I could understand, considering that she lived with that lady all her life. She must have gotten tired of trying to fight her mother's antics, even though she vehemently disagreed with her statements. I, on the other hand, as was mentioned previously, would be a bit more daring and challenging with the terrible advice she would give us. But won't that lead to more fighting and us eventually getting a divorce? No, dear, as long as you have faith that everything will work out, then there's no point in bringing up those bitter feelings. But you must listen to me, John. That's the problem with you kids these days. You think that you can talk back so freely when an older person is giving you some wise advice. I'm telling you the truth, for free even. So trust me. Another example of the bad advice she'd give us was when she said that sticking to traditional gender norms in our marriage is a surefire way to long-lasting and happy marriage. In this day and age, I'm sure you can guess how that conversation went. I hear what you're saying, Alice, but I don't think that works for this family. What do you mean, dear? Well, both Kylie and I cook and clean. I don't just leave her to do it. Since she also has a job like me, we simply have to divide the household duties accordingly. It works for us this way. Women are stronger than you think, boy. She can handle the extra workload. As a matter of fact, it's not even an extra workload because that's what she was designed to do. Excuse me? Yes, listen to what I'm saying, trust me. This isn't coming from nowhere. You kids and your liberation and wanting equality for everything is what's turning this whole country upside down. Kylie, you need to resume your role as a proper housewife. And John, you need to work harder so that you can support her fully. It's not that easy, Mom. And besides, we like this arrangement. You don't like anything. Trust me, once you try it for yourself, you'll see how beneficial it is. We appreciate the advice, Alice, but trust us. When we say we're fine with this arrangement, it helps us bond more when we're cooking and cleaning together, actually. What a peculiar thing to say. Obviously, you've been brainwashed into believing that this is the way to go. But I'm telling you, you need to adopt traditional gender roles. This is how our conversations would normally go. Sometimes I would just agree with everything that she would say so that she would shut up faster. I swear this lady just liked the sound of her voice. She just enjoyed hearing what she had to say, even if it was the worst advice ever. Kylie kept telling me to ignore her, but I was just about fed up with her antics, and it seemed like the more we agreed, the more she'd give us her unsolicited advice. There was just no end to this woman. And that was when I said, enough is enough. This behavior had to stop immediately. I first confronted Kylie about it because I needed her to be on board with my plan. Your mom is out of control, Kylie. Yeah, I agree. but she's just trying to help us. Help us? Or control us? Oh, John, don't be so dramatic. Me being dramatic? Let's see. When we first got married, she talked about how we should set out our home. She rearranged all the furniture and the cutlery, and you know how hard we worked on that? We loved that arrangement, but of course, because it didn't suit your mother's needs, it was automatically wrong. On our first anniversary as a married couple, she called us and practically berated us for 4 hours straight about how we need to be better connected to each other. What did that even mean? She was so vague about everything. I know, she can be a bit much sometimes. That's not even including the endless amounts of times she shows up here, uninvited and unexpected, demanding that we do better as a married couple and follow in her footsteps. It would be better if she was giving solid advice, but her values are so outdated and they're even kind of harmful. I know that's your mom, but you have to agree with me when I say that this is getting out of control. You're right, babe, you're right. Okay, so what are we going to do about this? What did you have in mind? Just then, we heard the doorbell ring. I was praying and hoping with all my might that it wouldn't be her. But alas, those prayers unfortunately weren't answered. Hello, my beautiful son. Hey, come in, come in. How are you two doing? Did you try that new couples practice I was telling you about? Practice? Oh, you silly goose. The practice of detaching from your partner. I sent you the ebook all about it. You shouldn't forget about what I tell you. That's why your marriage is falling apart. But it isn't. Yeah, that's what they all say. Until it falls apart. That's why you have to listen to me. I give out the best marriage advice, you know. It's always great. Right. Anyways, what brings you to visit? Can't a loving mother just visit her kids? I just wanted to come. Perhaps we can make some tea and I can impart some more of my wisdom to you two. Oh boy, here we go again. This was a common trend with Alice. She just felt like she knew absolutely everything. I pulled Kylie to the side and I told her my plan. You're right, babe. What are you going to do? Don't worry about it. Why don't you invite her to stay for dinner? She was probably going to stay long enough anyways, and I'll be on the phone with a special guest, making arrangements for tonight. But Kylie? Yeah? Don't tell your mom about the extra guest. This needs to be a surprise for her. Aye, aye, Captain. Kylie proceeded to do the needful entertaining and distracting her mom from asking too many questions about my disappearance. I went to go and call a good friend of mine, Daria. Hey, John. Hope you're good. I'm good, Daria. Listen, I have a favor to ask you. Do you think you could come over tonight for dinner? Favor? I'd be more than happy to come over for a lovely meal. That's not a favor at all. Don't think this is all just for fun. I need your skills. Oh, has your mother-in-law finally pushed all of your buttons? You can say that, yeah. Didn't you say that this would happen in the upcoming weeks? I wasn't expecting this to happen so soon. Me neither, Dee. She just made one of her spontaneous visits, but this needs to stop. This ends tonight. So what do you say? You can count on me. I'll be there. Don't you worry. We'll put her in her place. Some hours went by, and it was time for dinner. We were all settling down at the dinner table with the succulent food steaming before our eyes, and even Alice couldn't appreciate all the work that Kylie and I did to prepare this. She was still rambling and obsessing over our marriage. And you need to be able to do things for each other. For example, Kylie, since John is your husband, even if he's leading you astray, it is not your position as the wife to correct him. Rather, you should gently nudge him in the right direction. What? Yes, what I'm saying is true. So even if I'm leading her down the wrong path, she shouldn't tell me anything. Precisely. I'm sorry, but that has got to be one of the worst pieces of marriage advice I've ever heard. Excuse me? Just then we heard the doorbell go off for the second time today, but this time, this was expected. My savior, my good omen. Who might that be at this hour? Mom, we've invited a very special guest to come over for dinner. Oh, who? It's a marriage counselor. As I was getting up to answer the door, Alice had a quick look of panic on her face. She started rambling about how marriage counselors are so expensive, and for no reason. These marriage counselors are frauds and scammers. Why charge people for advice that should be free? Well, Mom, it's an important business. I don't think you should say that, especially with our guest who's about to get in here any second now. Oh, they know that they're wrong, scamming people like that. I do a way better job than the highest paid marriage counselor. I simply couldn't wait for her to eat her words. I invited Daria inside the home and she greeted everyone politely. All was reciprocated except, of course, for Alice. She looked quite uneasy seeing this stranger here, and she made her confusion and apprehension well apparent. Who is this? I don't know you, dear. Hello, Mom. My name is Daria, and I'm a marriage counselor. Forgive me if this sounds rude, but what are you doing here, dear? Well, Alice, Daria is here to help Kylie and me with our marriage. What for? I already give you sound advice. Well, we just thought it would be best to hear it from a professional. Since we appear to be getting everything wrong, according to your standards, it doesn't hurt to get a second opinion. Oh, you don't get everything wrong. I think you two are perfectly fine, so there's no need to. Well, I'm already here, and I'm already ready to share my advice. Feeling defeated, Alice subsided sulkily, and we began to enjoy our dinner. I made it known that I was going to ask questions specifically in regards to what Alice would advise Kylie and me on, but I didn't expose who was giving us this advice just yet. I wanted Alice to sweat a little. So, Daria, we've been hearing that to improve upon our marriage, a lack of communication is the way to go. Who gave you such stupid advice? That's the opposite of what needs to happen. Well, this person informed us that even if I'm leading Kylie astray, Kylie shouldn't inform me about it and she should just gently nudge me in the right direction. That's a problem. You shouldn't do that at all. Communication is key. You two are partners, right? So you have to talk about everything. Oh, well, that's interesting. Kylie and I were already doing that, right, Kylie? Yep, we do that all the time. Oh, then great. Don't change it one bit. At this point, Alice's face went pale. I'm guessing she was shocked that I would jump straight into it like that, but I wasn't done relaying some of the advice she had shared with us to Daria, and we had a ways to go. Daria, is it true that as a married couple, Kylie and I should never talk to each other about our problems? What? That's absurd. Where are you getting all of this awful advice from? Well, this person claims to be a professional. Professional in what? Lying? Scamming? Alice choked on some of the food she was eating. We all turned to her and we were met with an even paler face, one full of shame. But after making sure she was okay, we proceeded with the conversation. Well, they claim to know a lot about a long-lasting marriage, so no, they're wrong. This is the same communication thing that I was talking about. Then it's a good thing that we already do that. But, did you want to say something? No. All right then. Oh, Daria, another question to ask you. Is it true that if we stick to traditional gender norms, our marriage will last forever? Well, each couple is different. And so if the couple decides that they wish to do so and they're both respecting the boundaries they set up in regards to those traditional roles, then so be it. But not every couple can act this way. Some people prefer to switch the gender roles or do things 50-50. Wow, that's very interesting actually, because we were told by a certain someone that the same professional who's giving you bad advice The very one. Anyways, she said that if everyone stuck to this practice, then our marriage will always be happy and content. No marriage is always happy and content. Sometimes there are some bumps in the road, so to expect that is quite harmful. Who is this person who speaks so confidently about being incorrect? It's quite sad and pathetic. I didn't want to expose Alice just yet. I wanted to ask just one more final question. Well, I think you should know that this person has also said that marriage counselors aren't needed in marriages, and that it's just a scheme to take people's money. I never said that. We all paused and turned to Alice. We were shocked, and it appeared as though she shocked herself too, as she quickly covered her mouth. I didn't have to do anything. She exposed herself. Did you say those things about marriage counselors? I just said that I didn't get why people would do that type of job. It's a bit odd to me. But you said that they were expensive for no reason. Well, and you also said that you can do a way better job than the highest paid marriage counselor. Well, if you believe you can do it, why don't you? Pardon? If my job is so easy, why not do it for yourself? I couldn't possibly. No, you're right. You couldn't possibly handle it. By the way, I know it was you who was giving John and Kylie this awful advice. I was just playing along with the shtick. But don't get me wrong, though. I meant every word I said about you being pathetic and sad. How dare you? Kylie, how can you let her speak to me that way? If I'm being honest, Mom, I think you needed to hear that. What? It's you, John. This is all your fault. You've poisoned the mind of my sweet, innocent daughter. Nope, you're wrong again. Your daughter has a mind of her own, something that you seem to forget about daily. She's a grown adult who can make her own decisions. And I mean it when I say that you needed to hear that, Mom. You don't know absolutely everything, Mom. That's a fact. And that's okay. You don't have to have all the answers. But giving us this advice all day long, especially since it's so unsolicited, is quite disrespectful of our marriage. But, you need to learn how to shut your yap sometimes and let people, especially the professionals, handle what they're supposed to handle. If we wanted your advice, we would have asked you for it. You don't have to always tell us every single thought that's on your mind. You come off as trying to pontificate, and nobody likes that. Alice was sufficiently embarrassed, I think it was safe to say. She was stumbling all over her words, and she was huffing and puffing, trying to make excuses for herself, but failing dismally. Oftentimes, the people who have nothing going for themselves will be the ones pontificating and preaching about how other people should live. You can't keep dishing out terrible advice and ideologies towards people. It's simply not right. Perhaps you should check the way you speak to people as well as your level of self-love and worth, because it looks pretty low from where I'm sitting, ma'am. For once in my life, I saw Alice completely and utterly defeated. She had no more arguments, no more rebuttals. She was just pale and quiet. After a moment of awkward silence, she got up from the table and said, "Thank you for the dinner. I think it's time for me to go." Kylie and I tried to get her to stay, but she was adamant, claiming that her cats must be missing her, and so she had to check on them. We all obviously knew the truth, that she was too embarrassed to stay any longer, but we decided to let it slide and let her go. Do you think we were too harsh? Oh, please, with the years of unsolicited advice she would give us, I'd say we weren't harsh enough. Let her cool off. She's just mortified for now, but she'll come around and hopefully she'll change. It was a couple of days after that dinner debacle, and I received a call from none other than Alice herself. "Hello, my dear." "Hey, how are you?" "Honestly, I'm still embarrassed from that dinner a couple of nights ago. Listen, I've been doing a lot of introspection, and I've realized that I have been a bit? Okay, fine. I've been too preachy and self-righteous with my advice to you and Kylie. I already spoke to her and apologized, but now I need to apologize to you. I'm sorry for everything. I shouldn't have given you all of that terrible advice. I realize the error of my ways now. Oh, Alice, that is great news. Obviously, I accept your apology. Please just make sure it doesn't happen again, as it can be quite disrespectful and annoying. Trust me, I won't. I actually think I like the idea of sitting back and watching just how you kids do it. Times are indeed changing, and I need to educate myself on all of those changes. Kylie was right, although it was hard to hear it at the time. I did need to hear all of that, especially from your friend Daria. I'll be sure to pass her your thanks. I was honestly glad to hear this change of heart. She even sounded happier and less judgmental on the phone. I finally felt like I was getting the mother-in-law I always wanted, and I couldn't be happier. Hello, my name's Juniper and I'm 37 years old. I never expected to have a story like this to share, but here goes. Buckle in, folks, because it's going to be a wild ride. It was a sunny afternoon when my in-laws, Margaret and Julian, my mother-in-law and father-in-law respectively, arrived at our home for a much-anticipated vacation. They had always talked about visiting America, and I was more than happy to welcome them into our home. You see, because they lived in France, their home country, we didn't get to hang out as much, but from the little moments we spent together through family reunions and communicating online, I was always under the impression that things were great between us. But I was wrong. Unbeknownst to me at the time, my mother-in-law and father-in-law were concocting an evil plan to disparage my daughter and me. And I was none the wiser for a long while. Little did I know that their visit would reveal a dark undercurrent of resentment and animosity hidden beneath their pleasant facade. Oh, bonjour, mon chéri. How are you? I'm feeling good, Grandma. Hi, Grandpa. How was your flight? It was exhausting. I'm, pooped. I need to take a nap. Not before you have some refreshments, of course. Ah, Juniper, you spoil me. Hello, Ma. Hello, Papa. I'm glad to see you're doing well. Yes, my son. We made it. Thank God. Hey, speak in English, you two. We also want to be part of the conversation. This is just your sign to brush up on some French, my dear. From analyzing this conversation, you would assume that we're just like any big old happy family. Trust me, I thought the same too, but what will be uncovered soon will truly make you think twice about those extra nice family members that you have. You see, if it wasn't obvious before, I married into a French family, embracing a new culture and language along with my husband, Nicholas. While I hadn't mastered French fluently, I had picked up enough words and phrases to sense when something was amiss. Margot and Julienne, however, always put on a show of warmth and affection whenever Nicholas was around, keeping their true feelings about me and my daughter Ashley concealed. I began to see their true colors when my husband would go to work. Being a housewife, I spent most of my days at home taking care of our household and nurturing our family. With my in-laws' arrival, I always ensured that I was at home for the most part so that we could catch up. Ashley had also just finished her freshman year of university and she was home for the summer. So it meant that Ashley and I would finally get to properly hang out with our relatives. In short, I had hoped for a joyful and harmonious time together, one filled with games and laughter and truly getting to know one another in a deeper sense. Although this was true for the beginning of the vacation, as the days went by, I noticed a peculiar pattern emerging. Their conversations were now exclusively held in French, deliberately excluding me and Ashley. Ashley and I would try and be polite, not addressing it out of respect, but one day Ashley said, "Mom, why are they always talking in French now?" "Oh, my love, it's okay. That's the language they're most comfortable in. So we have to be more accommodating." I get that, but it's happening all the time now. I thought that we would get the chance to hang out with them and have a great time together. We will, sweetie, we will. Let's just let them adjust to America first. It must be a lot for them to handle. Okay. It'll get better, I know it will. So Ashley and I dismissed it and deemed it as just a harmless quirk. But as the days turned into weeks and their conversations grew hushed whenever I entered the room, my suspicions deepened. It became clear that they were intentionally isolating us, deliberately keeping secrets within their private French exchanges. Ashley was also growing more and more curious about their behavior, getting offended because she really wanted to get to know her cool French grandparents. But they were making it extremely difficult. In an attempt to bring us closer together and bridge this apparent gap that was forming, one day during the week I proposed that we play a game. The rules are very simple. We'll go around telling each other 2 truths about ourselves and 1 lie, and it's up to the rest of the gang to decide which one is the lie. Oh, that sounds fun, and it would be a good way to get to know each other. To our surprise, both Margot and Julianne were not even excited to play this game. They looked bored and slightly irritated. Sensing their uncomfortableness as well as attempting to be a good host, I decided to scrap the idea and ask them what they would like to do instead. I would like to drink some tea and chat with my husband. Oh, okay. Is it okay if Mom and I join? No. His outburst shocked us, but he quickly recovered. I mean, no, my dear. We just would like to enjoy a quiet afternoon, all right? You see, we're much older, and these types of games don't really appeal to us. But you 2 don't ever talk to us. You're always speaking in French. You rude girl! How dare you talk to us like this, so disrespectful? Were you raised on a farm? How dare you speak to my daughter this way? She's a kid. She just wants to hang out with you guys, but you're making it difficult. How can you say something so vile? Whatever. Let's go, Julianne. Julianne and Margot stood up from the table and they began to speak very loudly in French, not attempting to conceal their words at all. I couldn't make out exactly what they were saying, but from their dispositions and attitude, it wasn't rocket science to determine that they were talking about us, and it wasn't in a very pleasant way. I was too embarrassed to tell Nicholas about what happened that day when he came home in the evening, and I was scared that he would notice some tension at the dinner table when we all sat down to eat. But Ashley and I's surprise, both Margot and Julianne were talking to us very nicely, as if nothing had happened earlier. We were communing as if we were one big happy family, but this didn't really sit right with Ashley and me. Some days later, fueled by curiosity and a growing sense of betrayal, I decided to take matters into my own hands. As Margot and Julianne chatted away in the living room, as they usually do, I discreetly reached for my phone and hit the record button. With trembling hands, I captured their voices and their words, hoping to uncover the truth hidden within their clandestine conversations. After successfully capturing the needful, I was gaining confidence. One day turned into 2, then 3, then 4, and sure enough, I had collected voice recordings of different conversations spanning over a week. I meticulously collected evidence, documenting their conversations whenever the opportunity arose. As was mentioned previously, I had only a somewhat infantile knowledge of the French language. I couldn't decipher what they were saying exactly. But as I tried to listen over and over again, I picked up on some really rude words. I was actually quite fearful of what I'd find if I properly translated everything, but I knew that I had to get to the bottom of this behavior. Luckily for me, I had a friend who spoke French. Camille was from Senegal, and she migrated to the States when she was an infant. Although she was practically raised as an American, her immigrant parents always ensured that she was still able to speak her native tongue, so she was the perfect candidate for helping me decipher this information. One day, I called her and told her to come over, and once she arrived, I brought her around the back of the house so that Margot and Julianne didn't see her. Camille and I found a moment alone outside where we could speak discreetly. I poured my heart out to her, sharing the instances of their strange behavior and my growing suspicions. Camille was a pillar of support, assuring me that she would help me uncover the truth. From what you're telling me, it sounds like they're talking about some pretty shady stuff, But don't worry, I'll do my best to help out in any way I can. Thanks, love. You're a lifesaver. Just doing my job as a best friend. As I played the audio for Camille, her face grew pale and she started trembling. Camille, what's wrong? I can't breathe. Panic, attack. She was gasping really loudly for air, and I was also getting fearful. I never expected her to be this overwhelmed by what she was hearing. Fear also gripped me as I tried to calm her down, doing my best to provide the comfort she needed at that moment. I ran inside to get a glass of water, and I put her in the cool shade and made her lie down so that she could calm down. I was soothing her and massaging her skin until her attack subsided. Thankfully, I managed to help her regain her composure without raising suspicion from Margot and Julianne, who were inside, probably gossiping away still. Ashley, however, happened to be near her bedroom window and overheard the commotion. Worried, she rushed downstairs to check on us. I explained to her what had transpired, sharing that I secretly recorded what her grandparents were saying, and whatever it was that they were saying was so disturbing that it caused Camille to have a panic attack. We were both horrified by what we might uncover once Camille was ready to talk. Camille, once she had fully recovered and was inside the safety of my bedroom along with Ashley, apologized for her reaction. Don't you dare apologize. You did nothing wrong. All that matters is that you're safe now. Don't worry. Julianne and Margot didn't see you. They seem to have moved to the front lawn, so Ashley and I managed to bring you upstairs. You gave us quite a fright, Camille, but I'm glad you're safe now. I probably should have warned you about my affinity for panic and anxiety attacks, but honestly, I wasn't expecting to hear such awful information bombard my ears like that. Tell us, Camille, what were they saying? Camille took a deep breath and then a deep glug of water and proceeded to relay what she heard on the recordings. Juniper, Ashley, there is no easy way to tell you this, so I'm just going to do my best. It appears as though Margot and Julianne want to sell Ashley on the black market to some very sick and twisted people. Both Ashley and I's jaws hit the floor. We were completely flabbergasted. What the hell? That's not all. They said that they wanted to sell you too, Juniper, and they were planning on faking your deaths by saying you got into an awful car accident that burnt up into flames so that there's no evidence of your bodies. They said that they'd make a fortune off of Ashley because of her age. I think I'm going to be sick. They were so cold and callous about everything, you guys. Like they didn't care one bit that they were going to sell you off to some twisted people. That's why I had a panic attack. I had never heard of someone being so candid about such an awful crime. You can take a break if you need to. The both of you, it's a lot to handle. Why aren't you crying right now? Aren't you feeling sick, Mom? Of course I'm feeling sick, but right now I'm just angry. They threatened to hurt you, Ashley, and for that I will never forgive them. They said a lot more harrowing things, but I think, for all our sakes, I will spare us the details, at least for now. Camille, Ashley, and I all felt extremely fearful and sick to our stomachs. We simply couldn't believe that we had been sharing a home with criminals for the past month. Although I was scared, I was also fueled by unbridled rage. I wanted to go there and yell at them until their heads shriveled up into raisins. But Camille stopped me. June, I get it. You're upset, as you rightfully should be, but there's no way that you are going down there to expose what you know. What do you mean? They threatened my daughter's life. I know that. I heard it, Juniper. I just don't think it's smart for you to approach them right now with no game plan. I mean, you live with these people. Who's to say that they won't harm you in any way they see fit? You're right. You're absolutely right. We have the upper hand right now because we know their plans. We can't give up that privilege so easily. So what are we going to do? We're going to get the hell out of here. What? Yep. Go and pack your essentials and lock your door too, just in case. I'll be in here doing the same. Camille, please help her out while I stay here and call Nicholas. Sure thing. We'll be back here when you're done. Once they left the room, I began to cry. I was so overwhelmed with what I heard that I just had to break down. But I was so relieved to find out this information sooner rather than later. I called Nicholas and I told him everything. I told him how his parents were treating us for the past month. I told him about the rude outburst they had towards Ashley after we offered to play a game. And of course, I told him about the recordings as well as the translations that Camille provided. Not that he needed her to translate anything for him, rather to prepare him for what he was going to hear. I'm sure that you'll understand exactly what they mean. Camille wasn't too forthcoming with all of the details, but she told us enough to know that our safety isn't guaranteed here. I'm taking Ashley to Camille's house as soon as I'm done packing, but I had to tell you everything. I know it must feel like I dropped a bomb on your lap right now, but you need to know the truth. Yeah, that's a lot of new information. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner about the other stuff. I thought I could handle it. I knew it would break your heart to find out that we weren't getting along as you wanted. Let me listen to the audio, okay? And I'll get back to you. We cut the call and I proceeded to pack my things, all the while peeking through the window to see if the two monsters were still outside. By the time I was done packing, Camille and Ashley came back into my room. Just as I was finishing packing up, I got a call from Nicholas. He was extremely upset and distraught. I mean, who wouldn't be after finding out that their parents were criminals? He said that we needed to get out of the house immediately and that Nicholas would meet us at Camille's place. We all discreetly got in the car that was parked in the garage and we sped off. Of course, Margot and Julianne saw us driving off and they called me, but I didn't pick up the phone. Once we arrived at Camille's house, I called the police and directed them to the house so that they could arrest my mother-in-law and father-in-law. 30 minutes had passed and Nicholas had arrived at Camille's place. We embraced and we cried for a good hour or two, and all the while Camille was giving us updates from the police raid. The police had arrested Margot and Julianne. Nicholas revealed that before he came to Camille's house, stopped at the police station to drop off the evidence that I had sent digitally to him. Now that the police had all the evidence, it was way easier for them to deal with this case. Although we weren't there to witness it, I'm sure that the looks on Margot's and Julian's faces were a sight to behold. Margot and Julianne were definitely caught off guard as the police stormed into my home. Their faces must have been etched with shock and disbelief. They were swiftly arrested and restrained due to the severity and seriousness of the crimes they were being accused of. The once proud and manipulative couple stood there, now stripped of their power and exposed for the criminals they truly were. News of their arrest spread quickly throughout the community, causing a stir and disbelief among our acquaintances and neighbors. It was truly harrowing to know that such a dramatic and movie-like experience was happening to simple and plain people like us. The revelation of their involvement in human trafficking sent shockwaves through the town, shattering the illusion of the respectable facade they had maintained for years, both back in their home country as well as here. The legal proceedings that followed were arduous, with the prosecution presenting a strong case built on the compelling evidence against Margot and Julianne that I managed to gather for those weeks. Their actions were laid bare in the courtroom, leaving no doubt about their guilt at all. The jury, rightfully appalled by the heinousness of their crimes, delivered a unanimous verdict of guilty on multiple charges related to human trafficking and conspiracy. As the judge pronounced the verdict, the courtroom erupted in a mix of relief and satisfaction. Margot and Julianne, once regarded with respect by Nicholas, Ashley, and me, now faced the consequences of their malicious actions. They were sentenced to lengthy prison terms, and they were also set to be tried back in France, which has stricter laws regarding this sort of thing. In short, we wouldn't be seeing these people for a long time, and because of their ages, they would most likely live out the rest of their days rotting in prison. They were deemed a serious danger to our family, and their prison sentences ensured that they would be kept away from society. Good riddance. The news of their arrest and conviction reverberated nationally, becoming a really big news story, as well as serving a warning to those who believed they could perpetrate such atrocities without facing justice. It was a triumph for justice and a reminder that no one is above the law. While the legal system continued to process the aftermath of their crimes, Ashley, Nicholas, and I focused on healing and rebuilding our lives. The trauma caused by Margot and Julian's betrayal would not be easily forgotten, and Nicholas was having an especially difficult time, but we stood strong together, supporting each other every step of the way. Our bond grew stronger as we navigated the aftermath of the arrest and worked together to overcome the trauma we had endured. Ashley, my brave and resilient daughter, showed remarkable strength in the face of adversity. She had witnessed firsthand the dark side of human nature, but she refused to let it define her. With the support of therapy and the unwavering love of her family, she embarked on a journey of healing and self-discovery. Through art and expression, she found solace and a means to process her emotions, gradually reclaiming her sense of security and confidence. Nicholas, my steadfast husband, stood by our side throughout the entire ordeal. He played an instrumental role in supporting both Ashley and me, offering unwavering love and understanding. Together, we attended counseling sessions, fostering open and honest communication as we addressed the wounds inflicted by Margaret and Julianne. Nicholas's calming presence and unwavering commitment to our family provided a solid foundation for our healing journey. One evening, as we sat together in the living room, our hearts heavy but determined, I initiated a conversation about our progress and plans for the future. The room was filled with a mix of emotions, but a sense of optimism permeated the air. Ashley, how are you feeling these days? You've shown incredible strength through everything. It hasn't been easy, Mom, but I'm getting there. Art has become my sanctuary, my way of expressing and releasing the pain. And with therapy, I'm learning to reframe my perspective and rebuild my trust in others. We're so proud of you, Ashley. Your resilience inspires us every day. We're here for you, always. That's right, sweetheart. We're in this together, and we'll continue to support and uplift each other as we move forward. We've come a long way, and we have an even brighter future ahead. Thank you both. I don't know where I'd be without your love and guidance. We've gone through so much, but we've also grown stronger, and now we have the chance to reclaim our lives and make a positive impact. Absolutely, my love. We've endured the darkest of times, but we've emerged with newfound strength and resilience. We won't let the actions of others define us. Together, we'll create a future filled with love, happiness, and fulfillment. We're a family, and nothing can break us apart. We've proven that. Let's keep supporting each other, healing and building the life we deserve. We're stronger than ever, and we'll embrace every opportunity that comes our way. The dialogue was filled with a mix of emotions, ranging from the lingering pain of the past to the hopeful anticipation of the future. As we continued our healing journey, we found solace in one another, knowing that together we could overcome any obstacle and create a life filled with love and joy. Hi, my name's Lillian, and I am 35 years old. I was just home from work when I saw the letter that changed my life. I had a wonderful family with a loving husband and 2 kids. My family was my lifeline. They were the most important people in my life. I never thought one of them would betray me in this way. My husband, Nick, always said, "Lillian, you know you are my soulmate. I'm just so lucky to have you in my life. I thank God every day that I got such an amazing wife like you. You will always be the love of my life. I feel the same way about you, Nick. I'm so glad we found each other. I don't know what I would do without you. They were all lies, you know. I wasn't going to be Nick's soulmate, and I wasn't going to have trouble living without him. It's just so weird that once your husband does something so vile, the love you have for them just vanishes. That's what happened to me. That's what was written in the letter. The letter said, Lillian, by the time you find this letter, I will be long gone. There is no easy way to break this news. I'm in love. I always thought you were my soulmate, but now I finally found her. Unfortunately, it's not you. Ever since I came across her, I just couldn't see anything past her. Our love is just way stronger than what you and I had. My life with you and the kids just lost its shine. I cannot see myself having a family with someone who isn't her. I am sorry, but I have to do this. Please don't contact me. I won't come back. I wish you and the kids well, but it's time I live with my true family. No, he can't do this to me. He didn't just abandon his family. No, what will I tell the kids? God, why did you do this to me? I just kept sobbing and sobbing till there was no tears left. I sent my mother-in-law Heather a text that she needs to pick the kids up from school and keep them at her place. She didn't question me. Heather was just happy to have the kids over for some time. She was a loving grandma that way, and she was a loving mother-in-law to me. I had it all. Even my in-laws loved me like their own. I never saw this coming. I kept blaming myself for driving Nick away. All sorts of thoughts went through my head before I lost myself completely. I called Kyle, Nick's brother, and asked him to come over. When Kyle arrived, he was astounded to see me in such a state. He said, "What happened to you, Lillian? Why are you crying like this? Where's Nick? Talk to me, please." "He left me, Kyle. He's gone, and I don't know where to find him. What will I tell the kids? Oh, my God. What are you saying, Lillian? You're not making any sense. He left this letter for me. I just found it when I came home to an empty house." Kyle read the letter and loudly cursed to himself. He didn't say anything to me. Kyle simply picked up the phone and started to call Nick. The calls didn't go through because Nick had blocked him. After trying his office, Kyle informed me that he needed to call his parents. I was a mess and didn't know what to do. He called them and asked them to come over. In a short time, both Heather and my father-in-law, Josh, arrived at the house. The kids were at their house with a trusted neighbor. When I showed them the letter, they said, "I can't believe this. What is wrong with Nick? How could he do this to his family?" "Lillian, don't cry. You need to be strong for the kids. I will do my best and bring him back. He needs to take responsibility for the kids. This is insane. I can't believe I raised that boy. How could he do this to you? I thought he was in love with you. We never saw this coming." "Nick is a coward. He could have discussed everything with us and Lillian. Instead of facing us, he chose to run away. I tried his office. They said he gave his resignation months back. They don't know where he went. He planned this for months. Nick acted so normal all this time. I wouldn't have suspected a thing. We even had family outings these months. Was he putting up a front all this while? This is ridiculous. I'm ashamed to have such a son. He will have to face the consequences of his actions. If he loves someone else, I will accept it and leave. I don't want to be with someone who doesn't love me at all. But he abandoned his kids. They are children. How will I explain to them what happened?" No one had an answer to my question. We all knew the kids would be crushed. Do you know what it feels like to know that your dad doesn't love you anymore? My dad abandoned me after divorcing my mom. He said I was just a painful reminder of his past. I don't have any contact with him anymore. I knew what it was like to feel abandoned by a parent. My mother went off the deep end and couldn't care for me. I had to fend for myself in foster care. I couldn't do that to my kids. I had to keep myself together for them. No matter what, they would know that their mother loves them. My sons Jaden and Jason were only 10 years old, but they were pretty mature for their age. I knew I had to tell them the truth. After discussing it with my in-laws, I sat them down in a separate room and talked to them. They already knew something was up when they walked into the house with Kyle. I spoke to them privately and said, "I think you guys know something happened. I'm sorry, kids. I don't know how to make this easier for you, but your father has left. I don't know where he went, but he said he isn't coming back." "What? Dad just left? You can't be serious, Mom." "Mom, tell me this is a joke. Why would he leave like that? What have we done?" "You didn't do anything, kids. He left because he wants to be with someone else. I know it might be difficult for you to accept this, but it's the truth. I think it will be the three of us from now on. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something." The kids were silent. They shared a look with each other and simply went to their rooms. I know they were in shock. I needed to give them space. Kyle decided to stay over while my in-laws went back home. They promised to check up on me and the kids the next day. The entire day the kids stayed shut up in their room. I was pretty worried about them. Kyle went and called them for dinner. They refused and said that they lost their appetite. Jaden and Jason also said that they were fine and wanted to be left alone. Meanwhile, I tried my best to keep myself together. Kyle was a huge help during this time. He called up all of Nick's friends and asked them about his whereabouts. No one knew where he had gone. In fact, everyone was pretty pissed about what he had done. They promised to call back when they had some news. The next morning, the kids came down for breakfast. The moment they saw me in the kitchen, they ran up to me and hugged me. And they said, "Mom, don't worry. We're with you. We know you love us. You are enough. I don't even want to see his face again. I'm so mad at him. He doesn't deserve you, Mom. We are here for you. If he wants to live without us, he can. We don't want him anymore." "But he is your dad, kids. I know you love him just as much as me." "We love him, Mom, but I don't think we will ever forgive him for this. If he thinks we don't matter to him, he can stay away." I couldn't believe how my kids supported me. They were more worried about me than their dad. It was true that Nick had started to neglect them since last year. We talked to him about this, but he never made time for them. I tried hard to arrange group activities, but he never took part in anything. I thought he was stressed at work and would come around soon. He loved his kids and just needed some time to gather himself. Turns out I was wrong. For days I tried to reach him. He deactivated his phone number after a week. We went to the police and let them know about the situation. However, they didn't have any idea how to find him. My in-laws suggested hiring a private investigator to track him down, but I simply didn't have the money to do so. Since I was sole breadwinner of my family, I had to prioritize keeping my family afloat. Besides, I didn't know what would happen when we finally found out. The kids were slightly hopeful that he would come back. However, that hope died after a few months. Me and my in-laws tried our best to be there for the kids. We put them in therapy so they can express their emotions better without worrying about upsetting me. Kyle also pushed for me to join therapy as well. He knew I was still struggling to make sense of the situation. I agreed. After 6 months, we tried our best to look for him again. We came to know that he had actually left with his co-worker, Shelley. Shelley was a co-worker who has always been inappropriate with him. I did tell him about my discomfort with her. I said, "Nick, I'm not comfortable with how Shelley acts towards you. She's always touching you and making passes at you. I noticed it at the company party. You need to stay away from her." "Relax, Lillian. She's a new hire and just wants some help. I've been trying to be nice so that she can feel at ease in the office. Shelley is just sticking to me because I am kind to her. She knows I'm married." "I don't know, Nick. Her behavior is pretty suspicious. You need to set some boundaries with her. It's making me uncomfortable. I trust you, but she is crossing the line. You have nothing to worry about, Lillian. I love you and can't even look at anyone else like that. You can be at ease. After he reassured me, I thought that maybe I was overreacting. Turns out I was right about Shelley. But I also didn't think that my husband would leave me for her. Nick didn't know how badly he had hurt me. I couldn't even get a divorce and child support from him. I spoke to a lawyer and he said that without an address, there is no way we can send papers. I knew that he did this on purpose. He wanted to avoid paying child support for the kids. I was thoroughly disgusted with him. Living in the house was also becoming a big problem for me. It now holds a lot of bad memories. I wanted to forget what happened in that house. The kids were also keen to relocate to a different place. They wanted to be closer to their grandparents now. We talked about it and thought that moving out would be the best. The house we lived in belonged to my in-laws and was destined to be Nick's inheritance. We were paying them rent, but the money was becoming a problem, so we decided to look for a cheaper place. However, my in-laws now had a different plan. When I told my in-laws about moving out, they said, "We have been doing some thinking, Lillian. I knew you would want to move out of the house." Yes, Josh, living there is becoming a nightmare. Plus, with the little money I have, paying for the upkeep of the house is just too much right now. I'm thinking about renting a 2-bedroom apartment for us. We don't need the extra space anymore. But the rent will be a lot, Lillian. Have you thought about it? Yes, I'm going to sell my engagement ring and get some money. It will help us get by until I find a better job. I will try to save some money to buy a new house. There is no need for that, my dear. Your mother-in-law and I have talked. We're going to give you the house. Nick doesn't deserve it anymore. I would rather give it to you for my grandkids. Nick is not getting a cent from me again. No, Josh, you don't have to do that. I can manage on my own. The house is your asset. Nick would be looking forward to his inheritance as well. Oh, hush now, Lillian. Nick is getting very little from us. We have already updated our will. The house will be yours. Everything is set. I can't accept that, guys. You have already done so much for us. They just wouldn't listen to me. My in-laws said that they loved me like their own anyway. So in their eyes, the inheritance was justified. I was only grateful that I met so many good people through my deadbeat husband. We moved to a different apartment and started life afresh. I decided to put that house up for rent and use that money to rent our new place. Kyle and I spent a lot of time together. He took the kids out for activities and made up for their father's absence. Me and Kyle also started to develop feelings for each other a year after Nick left. We talked it out with my in-laws and they were pretty accepting of our relationship. Even the kids were happy and wanted to have Kyle in their life permanently. Sadly, we couldn't think about the future because I wasn't divorced. I knew I would make Nick pay for making me and the kids suffer. The day would come soon enough. Almost 2 years passed and we still didn't know where Nick was. He kept himself so isolated from his past life that we couldn't find him at all. We also didn't want him in our life anymore and didn't care what he was up to. Me and Kyle continued our relationship and the kids were also thriving under Kyle's guidance. Everything was well until my father-in-law passed away. We were crushed to lose such an important person in our lives. While Heather, Kyle, and the kids were grieving, I made all the arrangements for the funeral. They were grateful for the help. Nick didn't attend because he couldn't reach him. Heather said it's better that way. With Josh's passing, the house was transferred to my name. I and the kids decided that we should sell the property. Heather and Kyle also agreed because they wanted us to move closer to their house. We got a buyer in a very short time because the real estate market was pretty hot back then. I sold the house to a lovely couple, and then we moved into Kyle's house. He insisted, and the twins wanted to be close to him. Kyle also inherited a house from his father, and the space was enough for all 4 of us. We were settling down into our new home when someone from our past returned. Yes, Nick was back home, but he was confused about what had happened while he was gone. I got a call from an unknown number. It was Nick. He was apparently at our old house. Nick said, "Where are you, Lillian? Who are these strangers in my house? What is happening?" I couldn't believe it was actually him and got so confused that I just cut the call. Nick thought the best course would be to go and talk to his brother to find out what had happened, and that is how he showed up to Kyle's house to find me there. "Why the hell are you living here, Lillian? What happened to the house? I went there and found an unknown couple living there. What have you done with my house?" "Nick, you have been back after more than 2 years, and all you want to talk about is the house? Did you even miss your kids? Don't you want to know how they are?" "I don't care, Lillian. I just want to know about my house. Dad has already passed away. This house is now mine. Why are there other people in the house? They told me the house is sold." "So, you knew about Dad's death and still didn't show up for the funeral? How are you not ashamed of yourself? You don't even want to acknowledge your kids? What is wrong with you?" "Shut up, Kyle. I have a better life with Shelley now. She is pregnant with my daughter. I'm going to bring her to my house and live here. Now, tell me who gave you two permission to mess with my inheritance." "Your father willed the house to me, Nick. So it was my inheritance, not yours. He did leave some money for you, but that's it. I already sold the house because we hated living there." "What? That's not possible. Dad promised the house would be mine. I will sue you. You two are stealing from me." "Yeah, bro. Good luck trying to prove that in court. We are legally in the right. If you want to waste money, go ahead. Now get lost before I call the cops for trespassing. You are no longer welcome here." "This is not the end of the discussion. You will hear from my lawyer." With that, Nick left fuming. I was freaking pissed. I felt bad for my kids since their terrible father didn't care about them at all. He was only worried about his new family. I didn't know how the kids would take it. Kyle calmed me down and decided to tell the news to the twins. We told them when they returned from school. Even they were pissed and said that they didn't want him either. They knew exactly what kind of person he was. A week later, we did receive a letter from Nick's lawyer. Heather already knew what had happened and was devastated that Nick could be so cruel. She told us that he was no longer a part of the family and she is going to disown him. That's when I told them about my plan for revenge. Using the address on the lawyer's letter, I was going to sue him for abandonment, divorce, and child support. He will finally pay for his mistakes, I said. It is time he faces the consequences of his actions. With the amount of pressure we put, he will be forced to agree to my terms of divorce. I will also charge him for child abandonment and neglect. Let him sue us for the inheritance. He will lose, and his lawyer will drain him out of money. Yes, I think you're right. He needs to step up and face his mistakes. Don't worry, Lillian. We're here with you. I will help you find a good lawyer. Nick is going to pay for upsetting you and the twins. After everything is over, we are going to make a more permanent solution to our living arrangement. True to his word, Kyle helped me find a good lawyer. I filed for divorce and went for all of his money. The kids also spoke against him in court. The judge was appalled by what Nick had done. Nick was there with his pregnant mistress and was unable to defend himself. I also decided to sue the mistress for alienation of affection. Needless to say, I won. After making all payments the court ordered, both Nick and Shelley were left almost penniless. They begged me to withdraw the suit because they needed money for the baby. I ignored their pleas because they deserved it. Nick also lost the suit for the inheritance. Josh was smart enough to leave him some money in the will. Nick was laughed out of the court with his atrocious claims. He even had to give up that money to us because he had lots of pending child support. After considering for a while, the twins decided that they would ask Nick to terminate his parental rights. Nick was a little skeptical, but soon realized that the kids wanted nothing to do with him. So he agreed to sign over the papers. He didn't need to pay child support because he terminated his rights. However, whatever money I won from the suit, I used to set up college funds for the twins. I was thinking about buying a house before Kyle decided to propose. With the divorce being finalized, we were free to marry. I accepted the proposal immediately. Nick was pretty mad at us for screwing him over in all ways. However, we told him that it was his fault. He and his mistress had already started to have problems from what I have heard. I blocked their numbers after they called us several times for money. All in all, my ex and his mistress got what they deserved. Meanwhile, I get to have a new life with an amazing man who is a better husband and father than Nick ever was. My name's Liam and I'm a 35-year-old man. My mother-in-law, for whatever reason, didn't like me for a very long time. You could argue that it was because I was stealing her precious princess away from her, but she doesn't act that way with her other children and her other daughter-in-laws, sister-in-laws. I always suspected that she had a personal problem with me, which honestly to this day hasn't properly been confirmed with her. But I'm glad that I at the very least got some revenge for her stupid antics. Let me tell you the story. From the very beginning, Isabella, my mother-in-law, and I clashed like oil and water, like fire and ice, like pineapple on pizza. Don't argue with me. She had a knack for getting under my skin with her passive-aggressive comments and disapproving glances. Whether it was about my choice of career or my lack of culinary skills, Isabella never hesitated to let her opinion be known. This one time, she fought with me because of a rug. A stupid rug. Can you imagine? This is how the argument went. Liam, I can't believe you didn't get the rug I wanted for the living room. It's like you never listened to me. Isabella, this is my house and I should have the freedom to choose the furnishings. The rug I bought is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine? It's hideous. You have no taste. This is just another example of your incompetence. Enough, Isabella. I'm tired of you constantly belittling me and listing all my shortcomings. I work hard to provide for this family and I deserve some respect. Respect? Respect is earned, Liam, and you've done nothing to earn it. You're just so useless in so many ways. I can't have this conversation right now. Our conversations would normally go like this, with Isabella fighting me for something stupid and me leaving without engaging any further. That woman was sick. She definitely enjoyed seeing me angry, so I did my best to not give that to her. I genuinely believed that she had some sort of mental problem because the way she behaved was crazy. I often turned to my wife, Harper, seeking solace and understanding. Harper and I were a team facing the world together, but when it came to her mother, she often felt caught in the middle, torn between her loyalty to me and the ties of blood. She would listen to my grievances and offer comforting words, but deep down, we both knew that Isabella's ways were detrimental. One day, Harper approached me and said, Liam, I have some exciting news. I've been thinking about your situation with Mom, and I believe I found a way to improve your relationship dynamic with her. Really? I wasn't expecting any surprises. What do you have in mind? I've planned a family vacation for all of us. I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to spend time together in a fun and lively environment, away from the daily stress and tension, and maybe you two could work on your relationship. Harper, I appreciate your efforts, but do you think a vacation can really fix things? My relationship with Isabella is so strained. She hates me. She doesn't hate you, babe, but I understand your concerns. It's a chance for us to reconnect, create positive memories, and find some common ground. Plus, Mom seemed genuinely excited about the idea when I mentioned it to her. Isabella was actually enthusiastic about a family vacation? That's unexpected. Yes, I was just as surprised as you are. Maybe this is an opportunity for a fresh start. We can focus on enjoying ourselves and work on building a bond between you two. I guess it's worth a try. If it means a chance to improve our relationship, then I'm willing to give it a shot. That's the spirit, Liam. I believe this vacation can bring us closer together. We'll make it a memorable experience for everyone. I was a little bit giddy. I enjoyed vacations, but I was also obviously worried that things wouldn't even work out because Isabella was just hell-bent on making me angry. But I did say that I would try, so that's what I had to do. Slowly but surely, however, my hesitation grew into full-blown doubts. She was enthusiastic, making suggestions and even offering to help with the planning. This sudden change of heart set off alarm bells in my head. Isabella had never shown such eagerness before, and it made me suspicious. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something fishy was going on. Nonetheless, I kept my suspicions to myself. If I'm being honest, I think that I felt quite guilty for holding on to these suspicions. I didn't want to bring these negative vibes on our trip, and I didn't want Harper to be angry with me for being suspicious. So I kept it to myself. But surely enough, call it intuition or good luck, I found out the truth and I was right. But let me not get ahead of myself. Amidst the uncertainty, Harper and I prepared for the trip, hoping that the change of scenery would bring about some much-needed tranquility. A week had gone by and our trip was rapidly approaching. We packed our bags, double-checked our passports, and eagerly anticipated the adventure ahead. Now, it's worth mentioning that regarding the passports, I also had a gut feeling that something awful was going to happen. Because later on that evening, Isabella called. Harper wasn't in the room at that time, so I answered the phone for her. "Hey, love, make sure that your passports are left on the table tomorrow." Hey, Harper stepped out for a moment. What's up? "Liam, I was expecting Harper. Well, anyway, I just wanted to remind you both to leave your passports on the table so that we don't forget them." "Why?" "The trip isn't for another 3 days, approximately at least. Leaving them out on the table so soon can be problematic. I think it's better if we keep the passports in our bags for now." Harper enters the room, sensing tension in the conversation. "What's going on, Liam?" "It was your mother calling, and I just thought I should answer. Isabella was reminding us to leave the passports out, but I suggested keeping them in our bags instead. Leaving them out on the table might not be the safest idea. We could accidentally knock them over or forget them altogether." "Yeah, that sounds like a better plan, Liam. We don't want to risk losing them or causing unnecessary trouble." Isabella, clearly frustrated by our responses, finally said this. "Fine, I need the passports out, especially your passport, Liam. You're so useless, I'm sure you'll forget it, if it's not right in front of you." "Why did you need my passport specifically? And why would you say that?" "Well, it's because you're always so absent-minded and irresponsible. I can't trust you to remember anything important, so it's better if you just leave them out." "Isabella, that's not fair. I've been responsible and capable of taking care of my things." "Okay, let's take a step back. We all want this trip to go smoothly, and we don't need any unnecessary arguments. Mom, we appreciate your concern, but I agree with Liam that it's safer to keep the passports in our bags for now." "If you don't leave your passports out tomorrow, then I'm not going on this trip." Both Harper and I shared a look of bewilderment. How could she resort to something so unnecessarily stupid? I was done with the conversation, and I wasn't about to enable Isabella by nagging her and forcing her to come. Harper, being the sweeter one between us, decided to do exactly that. The call ended with Harper agreeing to leave out the passports as instructed, and I was upset that Harper complied so easily. You know, the reason why she's always getting angry over stupid things is because she knows that you'll always take her side. That's not true, Liam. I don't always take her side. I just try to avoid unnecessary conflicts with her. You know how she can be. But Harper, it's like she's controlling everything. She manipulates situations and expects us to bend to her will. We can't keep letting her dictate our lives. It's not that simple, Liam. Confronting my mother is extremely difficult for me. She's been like this all her life, and I've learned to navigate around her outbursts. It's easier to comply than to challenge her. I understand, Harper. I'm sorry for everything you have to go through. But there needs to be a point where enough is enough. We can't keep sacrificing our happiness for her satisfaction. I just want to have a good time on this vacation, Liam. I don't want tension or arguments ruining it. For now, let's just do as she says and hope for the best. We can deal with the consequences later. Fine, Harper. If that's what you want, then I'll go along with it. But I hope you realize that we can't keep enabling her behavior forever. Harper and I argued back and forth about this. It was hard to admit at the time, but this strenuous relationship I had with my mother-in-law was seriously killing my relationship with Harper. It was annoying to constantly bicker about her mother. Instead of arguing about normal marriage things like finances, forgetting to take out the trash, or not doing laundry, we would argue about Isabella. And it was getting out of hand at this point. We were arguing about this well into the morning. Maybe we should just cancel the trip, Harper. It doesn't seem like Isabella wants us to have a good time. Liam, the trip is in just 2 days. We've planned this for a long time, and I won't let her ruin it for us. We're going on that vacation, and we're going to enjoy ourselves. We both shared a moment of understanding, acknowledging the difficult position we were in. Even though I was reluctant, I agreed to comply with Isabella's demands for the sake of a peaceful vacation. Deep down, I knew that this temporary concession was not a long-term solution, but I hoped that the trip will provide an opportunity for us to properly reconnect and find strength together, as was the original intention of the trip. The next day arrived, and I was going about my day at work, trying to focus on my tasks and push aside the tension caused by Isabella's constant presence in our lives. Everything seemed to be going smoothly until I received a FaceTime request from her. I hesitated for a moment, contemplating whether to answer or not, but curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to see what she wanted. As I answered the call, my heart skipped a beat when I saw Isabella's face twisted into a malicious expression I had never witnessed before. It sent a chill down my spine, and I couldn't help but brace myself for whatever was about to unfold. Well, if it isn't Liam. I'm actually surprised that you answered my call. Honestly, I could say the same. What do you want, Isabella? Oh, nothing much. Just thought I'd share some of my thoughts with you. I'm listening. I hate you, Liam. I've always hated you. You're a worthless excuse for a man, and I can't stand to see you succeed. This isn't news, Isabella, but one thing I want to know is why. What did I ever do to you? I can't bear the thought of you being happy with her. You two, always laughing and enjoying yourselves. What is there to enjoy? You don't want to see your own daughter happy? What a pathetic excuse for a mother. Me, pathetic? I'm just trying to protect my daughter. You make her believe that there aren't any problems in this world. She's too jovial and naive. You're making her dumb and clueless, just like you. That literally doesn't make any sense, Isabella. You've always tried to undermine me with the way that you speak to me. Anyone can see that you're obviously obsessed with me. Isabella's face turned from malice to embarrassment. It was like I caught her in something. She wasn't expecting me to say that, and she subsequently blushed at my words. Wait, you're not obsessed with me, are you? Well, I don't know what you mean. What are you trying to say? Oh my God, Isabella. Do you have feelings for me? What? Are you crazy? That's crazy. Why would I have feelings for you? You of all people. Don't be ridiculous. I don't even think about you. Well then, why are you so obsessed with grinding me down? It's like You're a little schoolgirl, and you have a crush on me. You remember how it was back then? If someone used to like you, they'd treat you like crap. This honestly has the same vibes. If I'm lying, then tell me, because I just don't understand why you hate me so much. Well, you see, the thing is, that's disgusting, Isabella. How could you have feelings for your sister-in-law? Well, what I was going to say before you cut me off is that I don't have feelings for you. So you can just shut up. Then why can't you stand the thought of Harper and I being together? Why don't you want us to be happy? Just shut up. Don't speak. I came here to do one thing, and after your preposterous allegations, I'm going to go ahead and do it with extra pride. As Isabella was speaking, I noticed her bringing up a passport to the camera's view. I was surprised to see the flickering flame of a lighter in her other hand. She sensed my confusion and began to smile, that devilish smile she donned at the beginning of the call. And then she set the passport on fire. She began to laugh, but I didn't say anything. I just looked at her sternly with disgust and disappointment. She reveled in her malicious laughter, relishing in the destruction she had caused. You see, Liam, I hate you so much that I was willing to burn your passport into ashes. You will not go on this trip. You should just think of divorcing my daughter and moving to find someone else. What? Someone like you? I never said. I don't like you, damn it. I'm certainly not obsessed with you. You're just delusional. Right. Well, okay. Why aren't you enraged right now? Didn't you see what I just did? I just burnt your passport, you fool. Yes, I did see what you did. But you got one thing wrong, though. That's not my passport. What? As she was exclaiming in shock and disbelief, I pulled out my passport from my laptop bag and showed her that I had it in my possession. Yep, got my passport right here. It turns out that when you tell people that they're useless and that they always forget things, they begin to be a bit more conscientious of their belongings. I thought it best to keep my passport with me because I could tell that you were up to something. But I told you to keep your passports out. That's why I'm at your place. Well, I'm sorry that I didn't fall for your vindictive plan, Isabella. I mean, what is wrong with you? Why would you even do something like that? Then whose passport did I burn? There's Isabella's here. Yours was meant to be here. Well, it's funny you asked that because, if you recall, you left your passport here 2 weeks ago when you got back from Canada. I'm guessing that you thought you had it in your possession all this time? I laughed as I watched Isabella's face twist from anger to shock, and then to embarrassment as she slowly realized that the passport that she burnt was her own. You made me do this! Sweetie, I didn't make you do anything. You're the one who wanted the passports to be out. I took out all 3 and left them on the table in the foyer just like you asked. But I knew that you had to be up to something, so I decided to keep mine with me. Honestly, you should blame yourself. Why didn't you open the passport and check the names? I did. I checked the first passport and it was Harper's. Then I didn't think that I needed to check the second one since I thought it was yours, and I had forgotten that I left my passport at your house. Isabella began to whine about how all of this wasn't fair, but just like in the movies, she was yet another stupid villain with a stupid plan that went all wrong. She was hoisted by her own petard, as all the fancy people say, and I was enjoying the show. As she continued to cry and shout at me, I said, "You underestimated me, Isabella. I won't let you ruin my life or my relationship with Harper. Your reign of terror ends here." "You think you've won? This is far from over, Liam. I will find a way to tear you two apart." "Well, good luck with that. It seems that while you're continuing to concoct your evil plan, my wife and I will be enjoying a well-deserved vacation. We're going to have a blast." "You won't have fun. Why do you two get to have fun? It's not fair. This wasn't supposed to happen." I continued to laugh at her in her silly state of confusion and anguish, and I eventually cut the call because I was tired of the drama and I was sufficiently satisfied with how things turned out, since she was the one who brought herself to her own demise. I could tell that even after the call had ended, she was furious with herself for being so foolish. I went to the security guy at my job and asked him if he could give me the camera and audio footage of my office from the past hour, even though it was against company policy. He hesitated, but after briefly explaining the situation, and upon reviewing what was recorded in my office himself, he gave me the footage as a favor. I'm guessing he understood that this was too important and that the truth had to be revealed. With the physical evidence of Isabella's deceit in hand, I went home and revealed everything to my wife. And by the end of everything, she was trembling with rage. "Is this a bad time to say I told you that your mom was crazy?" "Don't test me, Liam. I'm beyond pissed. Does she really have some sort of crush on you? That's horrible." "I genuinely believe so. I mean, why else would she act that way? That's why she's been so evil to me. I'm guessing she was trying to suppress her feelings, and her burning my passport would mean that I wouldn't go on the trip, and she wouldn't have to witness us being so lovey-dovey to each other." Oh my God, I don't even know what to say at this point. And the fact that I let her in today, none the wiser? She must have called you and burnt the passport while I was out getting her medication so that I wouldn't suspect anything. Well, her plan almost worked, had she just paid better attention to what she was doing. Both Harper and I laughed bitterly at the drama that was before us. Harper called her mother and with some very colorful language berated her for her stupidity. Isabella tried to deny everything, which made Harper more enraged as she revealed the footage that I had gotten from work. Isabella, for the millionth time that day, was too stunned and embarrassed to articulate a coherent response, signifying that she had, yet again, been caught in a lie. They went back and forth, with Isabella trying to lie and Harper berating her each time and presenting her with her inconsistencies. Harper ended the call with her mother very bitterly, vowing not to speak to her ever again. Harper and I went on vacation. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't the greatest experience considering just 2 days prior we got some really shocking and disturbing news. My wife, unfortunately, felt like an idiot for not seeing through her mother all this time, but I tried my best to make my wife laugh by reminding her that her mother was the stupid one for burning her own passport. Although the vacation trip wasn't a 10 out of 10, it certainly wasn't a waste because we did genuinely enjoy ourselves. I distanced myself from Isabella, considering her weird feelings about me, and Harper wasn't answering any calls, texts, or emails from her, staying true to her promise to never speak to her again. Isabella then tried to get other family members involved in this by saying we're bad kids for not listening to her and what she has to say. She's just lucky that we haven't released the footage to the other family members just yet. So for now, it's her word against ours. But Harper and I are seriously considering showing the other family members the information we uncovered. What do you guys think? Should we keep this matter private, or should we expose Isabella to everyone? I'm Harley, I'm 34 years old, and I'm a feisty and independent woman. Let me tell you about the roller coaster ride that was my relationship with my husband, Dominic. Buckle up, folks, it's going to be a bumpy one. Dominic and I had our fair share of ups and downs, as most couples do. While I loved him with all my heart, there was one major obstacle in our path to happiness. His overbearing and judgmental mother, Charlotte. That woman had a flair for putting me down at every turn. No matter what I did, it was never good enough for her. Whenever we had family gatherings, Charlotte would make snide comments about my cooking, criticizing every dish as if she were a Michelin-starred chef herself. She'd scoff at the flavors, pick apart the presentation, and compare my culinary skills unfavorably to her own. It was as if she wanted to show the world that I was inadequate, unworthy of her son's love. But it wasn't just about my cooking. Charlotte had a talent for undermining my achievements too. Once, at a dinner party, I proudly shared news of a promotion at work, hoping for a word of congratulations. Instead, she brushed it off with a wave of her hand, dismissing it as insignificant compared to the accomplishments of her friends' children. I felt small, invisible in her eyes, and don't even get me started on our wedding. While it should have been a joyful celebration, Charlotte made it her mission to criticize every decision she made. From the choice of venue to the color scheme of the decorations, nothing was good enough for her discriminating taste. I watched as she whispered her disapproval to anyone who would listen, tarnishing what should have been the happiest day of my life. Now, you'd think my loving husband would come to my defense, right? Well, think again. Dominic, bless his soul, had this bizarre blind spot when it came to his mother. He just couldn't see the way she belittled me, dismissed my accomplishments, and made me feel like I wasn't worthy of his love. It tore me apart. To make matters worse, my father-in-law, Caleb, was the only one who seemed to understand and challenge his wife's toxic behavior. He wasn't afraid to put her in her place, but I longed for Dominic to be the one to stand up for me. After all, I was his wife, his partner, and I deserved his unwavering support. But time and time again, I found myself disappointed. Dominic remained silent, allowing his mother's words to cut me like 1,000 paper cuts. It was a constant battle between my desire for his love and my frustration at his inaction. It wasn't just about defending me against Charlotte's snide remarks. It was about fighting for our love and showing me that I mattered. I yearned for him to see through his mother's manipulations and prioritize our relationship above all else. But it seemed like he was caught in the tangled web of family dynamics, unable to break free. As days turned into months and months into years, resentment started to build within me. I felt neglected, unappreciated, and trapped in a relationship where my needs were constantly brushed aside. It was a toxic cycle that needed to be broken. The beginning of the end was just around the corner. It all started when Dominic casually dropped a bombshell that he had to go on a business trip to Tampa for a week. Another business trip? Seriously, Dominic? It's an important meeting that couldn't be postponed, babe. But you just got back from one. Can't someone else handle it? And why Tampa all of a sudden? You see, he had just returned a few days ago from a different business trip, so this sudden impromptu excursion raised my eyebrows. I tried to express my concerns to him, hoping he'd ease my worries, but Dominic's response only added fuel to the fire. He was evasive, offering vague explanations that did little to reassure me, but I let it go, albeit reluctantly, trusting that my fears were unfounded. You know how it is. Things just come up unexpectedly. It's just business. Yeah, just business. Okay. Regardless of my suspicions, I didn't question it too much, and off he went on this business meeting. Days 1 to 3 of Dominic's supposed business trip rolled by, and my suspicions only grew stronger. I decided to FaceTime him, as I often did when he was away, but to my dismay, Dominic seemed to opt for audio calls instead. Hey babe, can we video chat tonight? Sorry sweetheart, the hotel Wi-Fi is acting up, so audio calls are more reliable for now, but don't worry, everything's fine. Wi-Fi issues? Really? It's just too convenient, don't you think? Babe, don't worry about it. But I did worry about it. Sometimes I would hear a woman in the background, and the doubts swirled within me, intensifying my unease. I couldn't shake the feeling that Dominic was hiding something, that there was a hidden agenda behind this supposed business trip. The foundation of trust we once had begun to crumble, replaced by an unsettling uncertainty that cast a shadow over our relationship. Even with these doubts, I kept silent, and I just accepted his excuses for those 3 days. I couldn't believe it. 3 days had passed and I still hadn't seen Dominic. In addition to not doing the FaceTimes, he would also cut our audio calls shorter and shorter. I had to get to the bottom of everything. I tried to FaceTime him on the 4th day, hoping to get some answers, but what I saw on the screen left me speechless. Instead of Dominic's face, it was Charlotte who answered the call. There she was, sitting in a beach chair with sunglasses on and a noticeable tan. This news hit me like a ton of bricks. "Charlotte, what are you doing there? Where's Dominic?" She smirked, seemingly pleased with herself. "Oh, Harley, dear, you didn't think he was on a business trip, did you? Honestly, though, I can say that he had to go to these lengths to keep the truth from you. But I guess that just shows how overbearing you can be." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dominic had been lying to me. And his mother was right there basking in the sun while I was left in the dark. Anger started to boil within me as I realized the depth of their deception. "So you're saying that the both of you planned the secret vacation without me?" "Well, yes." "Why?" "Because I wanted to visit my hometown and I wanted to do it with my son. Is that so wrong?" "Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you want me to come?" "Because this is a special trip for me and my son only." "Okay, but I'm his wife. I should have been there. And this could have been an opportunity for you and me to squash whatever issue you seem to have with me. I'm also in need of a vacation." "Well, you didn't get one. Sorry, not sorry." I'm going to ignore your childishness for 1 second to say that even if you really wanted this special trip without me, that would have also been fine. I'm an adult. You can tell me if I'm not invited to something. I promise you I can handle it. What I'm saying is, even if you two wanted to go alone, that wouldn't have been an issue. Let me just tell it to you straight. We kept it a secret from you because we didn't want you to know. Simple. We didn't care about whether or not you wanted to come or whether or not you would have been okay with us going. We just didn't want you to know. But your incessant calling is peeving me, so I just thought that I'd rip off the Band-Aid and tell you. Are you being serious, Charlotte? What exactly is wrong with you? Has all that sun fried your brain cells? How pathetic of you to insult me like that. You're taking this way too far. You're being such a drama queen. I'm not being a drama queen. I have every right to be upset, especially after all these years of dealing with your crap. Charlotte shrugged, feigning innocence. Oh, Harley, dear, sometimes it's best not to know everything your husband does. It was just a little secret getaway just for us, something special. You wouldn't understand the type of bond we have. I felt a mixture of emotions surge through me, betrayal, anger, and sadness. It was clear that they had planned this together, leaving me out of the loop and feeling utterly deceived. As the realization sunk in, I couldn't help but wonder what else they had lied about. How long had these secret trips been going on? Why did they feel so strongly about not telling me, and what other secrets were they hiding from me? The trust I had once placed in Dominic was crumbling, and I was brought out of my realization when I heard his voice in the background approaching further and further. Mom, what the hell are you doing? Why did you answer the phone? It's about time Harley found out the truth. It's been 4 days. Dominic snatched the phone from his mother's grasp, his face turning pale as he realized the gravity of the situation. He stared at the screen, clearly aware that he was caught in a web of deceit. How could you lie about the business trip, Dominic? And the past 3 days? The Wi-Fi was perfectly fine, wasn't it? I didn't want you to be upset with me. Well, yeah, I have every right to be upset. I just felt like you'd be jealous. Is it weird that you want to hang out with your mom more than with me? Yeah, sure. But honestly, Dominic, with the way that you haven't been standing up for me, I've been feeling distant from you already. If you needed your stupid, special mommy-son time, you could have said that. Even if I was going to be a bit upset about not being invited, it's better than what I'm feeling now. The anger bubbled within me as Dominic continued with his feeble excuse. It was clear that he had underestimated the consequences of his actions. I couldn't hold back my frustration any longer. Dominic, Even though I don't truly understand why I wasn't invited, I want you to know that I wouldn't have been upset with you if you had been honest with me from the beginning. It's not about the trip itself. It's about the fact that you felt the need to hide it. That's what's weird to me. I mean, I thought that you were cheating on me, for God's sake. What? Never. Yeah, well, when I've been hearing female voices in the background of the phone calls for the past couple of days, I began to wonder. Well, as I mentioned, I have a very special bond with my mother. Sometimes we just need to get away from everything, you know. And to Tampa, of all places? Don't you both hate Tampa? What about Gertrude? We're not going to visit her. Wow, so this secret was just between the two of you? What about your father? Does he know about this? Wow, I can't talk to you right now. I hope this trip was worth it, because when you come back, I'm not sure you'll still find a wife in your home. Harley, don't be like that. Wait, please. But I didn't wait. I hung up the phone and proceeded to decline all of his upcoming calls. I was pacing in my room. What reason would he have to hide such a simple thing from me? One thing about me, when you lie about the seemingly small things, I wonder what big things are you hiding from me? It was so weird to find him hanging out with his mom on this secret excursion, though. Honestly, I would have preferred if he was cheating on me. I was so frustrated with my weird and inactive husband and his equally weird and abrasive mother, I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to confide in someone who would understand the gravity of the situation. I picked up my phone and dialed my father-in-law's number, hoping he would be able to provide some clarity and support. Hey, it's Harley. I need to talk to you about something important. I began pouring my heart out about the deception that had consumed my marriage. I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. I revealed every detail of Dominic's lies, from his fabricated business trip to his desperate attempts to keep me in the dark. The pain of his betrayal cut deep, but what stung even more was Charlotte's role in all of this. I recounted how she reveled in my ignorance, relishing the power she held over me. The weight of their deceit was suffocating, and as I spoke, I could see the disbelief and hurt etched in Caleb's responses. Caleb's voice turned grave, matching the weight of my revelation. What? I had no idea about any of this. I'm so sorry I had to be the one to tell you about all this. I called you immediately after finding out. Charlotte told me she was going to Tampa to visit her mother and mend their broken relationship. I thought she was being sincere. Well, that's funny because Dominic just admitted that they weren't planning to visit Gertrude at all. And Gertrude has no idea about their supposed visit. Caleb's shock and hurt was palpable through the phone line. It was becoming clearer that Charlotte had been orchestrating a web of lies, manipulating everyone involved. We sympathized with each other, considering both our partners hurt us so deeply. We began to speculate about other suspicious occasions where they would just up and leave, and all the puzzle pieces seemed to be falling into place. I can't believe Charlotte would stoop so low. It's one thing to have disagreements, but to deceive her own family like this? It's unforgivable. They both need to learn a lesson. I agree. I have a suggestion. They're in Tampa, right? And they seem to be avoiding Gertrude. What if you call her and let her know that her beloved daughter and grandson are visiting? You know what? That's genius. I'm so angry right now. I'll do anything to teach those two about lying to us. After concluding the phone call with words of encouragement and excitability for what was about to ensue, I waited patiently to hear back from Caleb about his mother-in-law's reaction after finding out that her kid and her grandson came to visit her. A couple of hours went by, and Caleb told me the good news. After Caleb's phone call to Gertrude, the gravity of the situation became even more apparent. Caleb's voice trembled with a mix of anger and sadness as he described the conversation he had with Gertrude. I told her everything, Harley. She was furious. Devastated even. She couldn't believe her own daughter would deceive everyone like this. She deserves to know the truth, Caleb. Charlotte has been acting horrible to us all for far too long. Gertrude has decided to take matters into her own hands, Harley. She's planning to teach Charlotte a lesson she won't forget. She's tired of Charlotte's behavior and wants to show her the real meaning of rudeness. This might not be my place, but what exactly is the issue between Charlotte and Gertrude? Well, Harley, I'm sure you'd find it ironic, but Charlotte always told me that her mother was very rude and cruel to her. And when Charlotte ran away at 16, they've had a rocky relationship ever since, being in and out of touch for years. It's very toxic. But after chatting with Gertrude for the past hour, I'm inclined to believe that Charlotte was the problem all along. It's crazy. I've been married to Char for all these years, and you and Dom have only been married for 3, yet they've managed to uncover more family secrets in this short amount of time. I should have been more inquisitive. I should have fought more. How could you have known, Caleb? Don't beat yourself up about it, please. You were just being a good husband, sticking by whatever your wife told you. And you fought more than your son has. That counts for something. Thanks, Harley, for everything. I'm glad that I could help. Unfortunately, things have come to this, though. Yeah, I guess it is. But I'm just waiting for Gertrude to show them how nasty she can get. The next day arrived, and the repercussions of our revelations began to unfold. Dominic, unable to comprehend the consequences of his actions, called me in frustration, his words laced with irritation. Harley, what did you do? What do you mean? Don't play coy with me. Gertrude is here, and nobody else knows that we are here except you. Gertrude revealed that she came to us because she heard we were in town. I'm glad she knows the truth. Everyone deserves to know after all your shadiness. How could you do this, Harley? In the background, after hearing some inaudible commotion from 2 female voices, one sounding much older than the other, I correctly assumed that was Gertrude unleashing her righteous anger. Dominic, maybe it's time Charlotte gets a taste of what she's been dishing out all these years. It's about time she experiences the consequences of her deception. Suddenly, I heard this. You ungrateful little wretch! How dare you expose us like this? I couldn't help but chuckle softly, a touch of bitterness coloring my laughter, but before I could respond, I heard, Don't you dare speak to that young lady that way. I've had it with you and your insolence. You've been telling everyone how rude and nasty I was to you, huh? When all I did was care for you and help you out of trouble. You were such a problem child, lying about everything and being nasty to everyone. And I see that lifestyle has followed you into adulthood. We haven't properly seen or talked to each other ever since you left, and this is how you want to act? Do you think I'm rude and nasty? Just wait, I'll show you rude and nasty. I heard things break. It sounded like a glass or a vase, and I was a bit fearful as the shouting continued. I couldn't imagine how scared Dominic was, but I quickly realized that this is what he deserved. As much as he was her child, and was probably brainwashed from birth, he was a grown adult, and he was part of these choices. I was done making excuses for both of them. They were getting their justice, and I was glad that I was here to hear it. A couple more days of chaos ensued, with Dom asking me to forgive him because his grandmother was driving him crazy. I kept on reminding him that this was his fault, and each time he'd call, Charlotte and Gertrude were arguing back and forth. Honestly, I was surprised they didn't get kicked out of the hotel they were staying in. To make matters worse, when their 7-day excursion had come to an end, Dom revealed something even more shocking. Harley, please, you have to talk to Gertrude. I tried talking to Dad, but he's still mad at my mom and me. Slow down, what's going on? You two are meant to be coming back, right? I think you've learned your lesson. Well, Gertrude doesn't think so. She's going to board the plane with us. What? Yep. She says she wants to follow us home and make sure my mom starts acting like a respectable adult and not some crazed teenager. Wow, bet you weren't expecting that, huh? Maybe next time you'll stand up for what's right and not participate in your mother's schemes. See you when you get here. Harley, I regret everything. Haven't you tortured us enough? Please talk to Gertrude and tell her that she doesn't have to come with us. I don't think so, sweetie. Who am I to argue with that woman? She's terrifying. How do you think we feel? Honestly, Dom, I don't care how you feel. You've been lying to me for God knows how long, and you never stood up for me when your mom treated me like crap. You're getting your karma. Don't be mad at me. Now have a safe flight. Well, a safer flight you can have with these two ladies being with each other. As I hung up the phone, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. Finally, the tables had turned, and I had taken a stand against the toxicity that had consumed our lives for far too long. Gertrude, the unexpected ally, had unleashed her own brand of justice, and I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of excitement. I now wait for their return, anticipating the stories from Gertrude, as I'm sure that she continued to make their lives a living hell on that flight. Revenge never tasted so sweet.